No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show on this Sunday, the 18th of December, the first night of Hanukkah. We discuss the Winnipeg Jets and the Seattle Kraken. With Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Ezzy, good to see you. Happy Hanukkah to you and yours. I hope you
absolutely
with many pieces of fried food, some latkes, some jelly donuts, and maybe even some other fried things that you may have experimented with a deep fryer today.
Yeah, Naomi made latkes here at our place. I know some people buy them from the store, but there's nothing like actually making them. Like, you got to peel them yourself. Like, you got to have potatoes all over your hands, right? It does stink when you start frying them up, but I think it's a good stink. So yeah, had some latkes, saw some family this weekend. Unfortunately, the Jets candle burnt out. You like that one, Drew? But I mean, let's be honest here. Like, we were texting, throughout the third period, like, the Jets were going to be really happy if they could just push that game to overtime and get a point, right? And then, who knows what happens in the extra period. But if you get a minimum 3 of 4 points on this short little, 2-game West Coast road trip, you're super happy with that. And, like, you look at, like, the leadership group of this team: Josh Morrissey, Adam Lowry, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I realize Dubois doesn't have a letter on his jersey, but Dubois, like, he follows up a 3-assist performance last night against the Canucks with a goal and an assist, and he was pushing for more. Just incredible. And some people in the chat, I know they're talking about the Jets, this was a game they could have had, but I mean, they just ran out of gas, Drew. That was all there was to it. Like, I thought it was really impressive. They were fighting hard throughout the game, and they just couldn't get that extra goal to tie the game up. David Riddick also couldn't get out of the net. Like, he wanted to get out of the net with a couple minutes left, but the Kraken had the Jets hemmed in to their zone. So, give the Kraken credit. This Kraken team is just so much better than last year's team. And Matty Beniers has a lot to do with that. Andrei Burakovsky has a lot to do with that, and they're healthy. But, like, watching that team last year, I mean, they didn't have an identity. They were slow. Like, this is a fast team and a very skilled team. So I was really impressed with them tonight.
Prior to the first game of the year against the Kraken, when we were previewing the game, I think on the Saturday show, I think they played on a Sunday. It was a Sunday game, if I'm not mistaken. However many weeks ago now, maybe that was a month or 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. We said we looked up and down the Kraken roster, and this is before Matty Beniers sort of really took that next leap. We said, look, this is a team that's not flashy, but it's a team of professionals up and down the lineup. They may not have had a superstar, but they had it was a team filled with second and third line guys who knew how to play in the NHL top to bottom, on their roster. And I think you saw that tonight. I mean, look, the Kraken haven't played until Thursday. And Ezzy, do you mind if I steal your thunder with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment? Go ahead and award the hardest hitting comment.
No, dude, I don't think we've ever
bit early
awarded it 4 minutes into the show, but go ahead.
But this is a true comment, and Craig Penner says this comment on our Facebook page, or when he's watching through Facebook, and he said you could tell the Jets were tired tonight, and there's no question about it. The Jets were tired. You could see that by the latter half of the game, they had nothing left, and it's not an excuse. It's not saying it's just a reality of the situation.
Exactly.
They increased the season from 82 to 84 games, which is wild to me that they're talking about increasing the number of games, because nobody wants that.
Why?
Except for the revenue.
Are they actually seriously
players.
deciding that, Drew? Because I mean, to me, like, what is that? So you can have a play-in situation? Like, is that what you're doing there?
The scheduling, it's so that you can play your own division, I think 4 times each. You can play the other division 3 times each, and you can play the other conference twice each. It works out perfectly to be 84 games. Now, anybody who's watching this league and says you need more regular season games is insane, because so many of the games are absolutely meaningless. So many of the games are absolutely are being played on the second half of back-to-backs. There's 7 games in 11 nights like the Jets are in the midst of, never mind the rest of this week where they still have another 3 games in 4 nights, traveling all the way back from the West Coast to the East Coast. The scheduler should be fired, by the way. But I just want to
this should have absolutely been a 9:00 Central start. Absolutely.
Well, at least give them 24 hours between games.
That's what I'm saying. That would give you the extra couple hours, right?
Give them, and there's also no way that you should have to go from the West Coast back to Winnipeg to the East Coast in the same week. And again, these are not excuses for the Jets' loss. The Kraken deserve to win. The Kraken deserve to win by and large because they're a pretty good hockey team. They're not a world beater, but I think they'll be a playoff team in the Pacific, the way they're getting goaltending from Grubauer and the way that they have, that they're a well-balanced team up and down their lineup. They've been sitting in
Martin
Seattle.
Jones has been really good too.
Yeah, Martin Jones has been great for them too. They've been sitting in Seattle since Thursday. They haven't played since Thursday. And the Jets, since Thursday, this was their 3rd game in 4 nights since Thursday. It's just a disparity. And the Jets won't use it as an excuse, which is, I think, really admirable of them and a big difference than maybe what we have seen in years past where the schedule was always talked about in the dressing room. Well, we'll talk about it because it's just competitively not fair. And I would say the same if the Jets were facing a team, on the 3rd and 4 nights, in the 7th and 11th, and I know it ultimately is going to balance out over the course of the season. And it's not going to be the be all and the end all when it comes to, who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. But it's something that the NHL on a macro level should examine further to try and figure out a way to prevent it from happening. Because if you don't, you're going to get what you get in the NBA, which is load management, which are games where the best players that the ticket-paying public pays for aren't playing just to give them rest. And that's not good for anybody.
No, it's not good for anybody, and it also doesn't translate well. Like, you follow, basketball way better than I do, Drew.
Yeah.
But basketball and hockey, there are similarities, but there are not similarities when it comes to, if you're a Jets fan or if you're I shouldn't say Jets fan, I was going to say, if you're a Capitals fan and you want to see Alex Ovechkin, or you're an Oilers fan and you want to see Connor McDavid, you're buying that ticket specifically to see those players, or Draisaitl or whoever, right? So you definitely don't want to see that. It's an issue. Like, I mean, I don't think have talked as much about the schedule this year as we have in a long time. I mean, I can't remember, too far back, but in the last, COVID, obviously the 2021 season, 21-22 season, COVID impacted the schedule big time.
Yeah. COVID is a whole
I'm talking
issue
about,
altogether.
we're back to a regular schedule now, right? With the season starting in early October, and then, the regular season ending somewhere around mid-April, and then the playoffs starting after that, right? The Stanley Cup's not going to be awarded in August this year like it was back in 2020, right? But you're right. I mean,
You're right.
7 games in 11 days is pretty ridiculous. And, maybe the NHL has to look at...
It's just something at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, and anyway, so Craig Penner, I wanted to highlight your comment because, Craig, you're going to be the winner of the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment because you said it right from the get-go, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you've had to say here. Send Ezra an email. Ezzy, why don't you tell Craig how he can get in touch with you?
Yeah, Craig, send me an email, ezra@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs at ICSEG, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you directly. And as I think Craig might have won last year, maybe he'll give me a thumbs up, or he'll let me know. But, it's going to be really cold over the next week or so. But I love the fact that we awarded the Tough Duck toque 4 or 5 minutes into the show, Drew. I mean, that's awesome.
Well, sometimes I like to do things.
When you know, right? Like, you knew.
I keep people on their toes sometimes. Every now and then I get yesterday I did it early on in the show as well. Just something to, keep people on their toes. You never know what comment is going to catch my eye. You never know what comment is going to catch your eye. You never know what comment is going to catch Dave M's eye. Dave M, obviously we gave him the night off tonight, but he said, Craig Penner says he's never won before, but he's glad to be the winner today. So congratulations to Craig.
I thought he won last year, but it's hard. I mean, we award the Tough Duck toque for those who, or maybe, new watchers / listeners to the IC post game show. We've been doing it since last year, so I mean that's a lot of tough duck Took winners. But can we also get into the I know Drew, you might want to get right into the goals here, but I can't believe that Jared McCann didn't get a boarding penalty on Cole Perfetti. And I was texting you saying, I can't believe Kyle Capobianco jumped in there and negated a power play. But then our good friend Mikey McIntyre of the Free Press tweeted out that there was no penalty to Jared McCann. And then even worse, the interference penalty to Kyle Capobianco was actually on Dylan Sandberg.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So again, I mean, this wasn't the reason why the Jets lost the game tonight. But it was just very kind of a bizarre sequence. To me, that was textbook boarding on Jared McCann. Very dangerous. And hey, sure, Capobianco wants to step up and protect his teammate. That's fine. I mean, obviously, Jared McCann, anybody who knows Jared McCann, he's not a guy that fights. I mean, I don't know if he has an NHL fight on his resume. I would be surprised if he does. He definitely doesn't have he's not a fighter. I mean, Jared McCann's an offensive player.
He's a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. Just like us, Drew.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I mean, the fact that they didn't get Dylan Sandberg, you would think that somebody would watch the replay and say, okay, you've got the wrong guy in the box. And then remember there was the false face-off and false start face-off. And then they had to put a second back on. Capobianco thought he could come out of the bench, or out of the penalty box, if you remember. So just kind of funny. You don't see that often.
Well, it's fun, and sometimes they call the wrong number in football when there's a penalty, which it doesn't really make a difference because it's just you're going back so many yards. It's not like the player is going to sit in a penalty box. When you get the wrong guy in the NHL, it makes a tangible difference because the guy that you're putting in the penalty box, or the guy that should be going into the penalty box, maybe they're part of the penalty killing unit.
Well, maybe Sandberg actually was, if you remember.
Right.
And then there was a play, I forget who it was. Maybe somebody in the chat will bail me out like they do a lot of the time. But Sandberg almost got called for tripping. So it actually, as you just said, it directly impacted the Jets' penalty kill because Sandberg wouldn't have been on the ice.
It's just perplexing to me what the NHL, chooses to review and get right versus what they choose to not review and are okay with getting wrong, because it always to me seems like they're getting some of the lesser important things right, but some of the more important things they're okay with those being wrong. It's a bizarre league in some of the decision making that goes on in terms of the officiating and in terms of the administration, let's say, of the game.
And also there weren't a lot of penalties in this game. Right. So it's not like you had one of those crazy games where each team had, 7 power plays or anything like that. There were very few penalties in this game. Most of it was played at even strength. I just wanted to throw that in there, Drew, because I was texting you about it. I just thought it was hilarious that, after the missed call on McCann, then they had Capobianco in the box instead of Sandberg.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the whole thing was unusual. Let's put it that way. Just another one of those instances. And, let's get into the game, the details of the game, and we'll get into the Betway game recap. And the Jets lose in regulation. But, frankly, for the majority of the game, I didn't think the Jets played that poorly. And then they just sort of, their structure, I thought, was decent. I thought that the way they want their game to look was decent. And then it just got, more haggard as the game went on, simply because you could see. Yeah, thank you. Because it wasn't poor. It wasn't, they weren't scrambling. They just looked haggard, like tired. You could see the exhaustion, even trying to move up the ice, trying to get the equalizing goal in the last minute and a half. And you mentioned it, in that David Riddick couldn't get out of the Jets' own net. The Jets just looked like they were on complete and total empty. Like they were skating in quicksand at that point in the game. And, I'm not going to rip my few remaining hairs out over tonight's loss. I thought the Jets played admirably. I thought that they were, that they did the best that they could in trying circumstances. And Seattle, to their credit, and it wasn't easy for them, but to their credit, they won the game in regulation. And that's a game Seattle needs to win in regulation, when you can see that your opponent is so thoroughly on empty. And the Jets had a 2-1 lead, and you never want to give up a 2-1 lead in the third period. You're in a position where you're in a decent position to at least earn 1 point, but then you give up that goal seconds into the third period, and you could just see from then on it was a matter of, are the Jets going to be able to hold on and get the game into extra time, which obviously they weren't able to do, Ezzy.
Yeah, and we talked about it. Once they finally got David Riddick out of the net with just under a minute left, there was a little bit of a push, but there wasn't, the push that you've come to expect from the Jets when they're down a goal, right? So I agree with you 100%. Like, and you could say, NHL players are paid millions of dollars, and this is what they do. Sometimes they have to play, 24 hours or 22 hours after they played, or they have to play 4 games in 7 days or 7 games in 11 days, but tired is tired, Drew. So you're right. Anybody watching that game could see that, the Jets they were with the Kraken for the majority of the game, and the Kraken are a fast team.
Yeah.
And, the Jets definitely capitalized on their power play opportunities. We were just talking about the power play. They went for 2 for 3 on the power play, and you got to love that. But they just didn't have enough in the tank in the third period. And, the fact that they almost left Seattle with a point, at least a point, was really impressive. So,
yeah,
I think this game, and all things considered, right? Like Blake Wheeler, I'm sure you guys talked about it quite a bit last night. I didn't catch any of the post game show, but I'm sure you talked about the Blake Wheeler injury. We already knew Nate Schmidt was injured after the Nashville game, but the fact that the Jets were able to be so dominant yesterday, and for parts of this game be really good, like the best part of this game for the Jets was clearly the second period, right? After the Kraken went up 2-1.
No,
that was pardon me. After the Jets went up 2-1 in the early part of the first period. Sorry,
that's better.
What I meant to say. The fact that they were even out shooting the Kraken was impressive, right? Like in the part of the second period. I think the shots were pretty even in the second period. But at one point when the Kraken went up 1-0, it was, I think, 13-12 or pardon me, 16-4. But anyways, I'm getting all my goals and shots mixed
You are
up,
getting your goals confused because the Kraken didn't lead 1-0 at any point in this game. So why don't you let me get into the Betway game recap, Ezzy, and then we'll talk about the goals at this point in time. The Betway game recap is, of course, brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Winnipeg Jets open the score.
Sorry about that, by the way. I don't know what I was thinking.
I was wondering if you were having a bit of a stroke on air, to be perfectly honest with you. I was a little concerned, so I decided to step in.
I'm good. Shifley scored the first goal. I don't know what. Yeah. I mean, the Jets were being badly outshot. I think what I meant to say was when the Kraken tied it up, I believe the shots I remember were 16-4.
Okay.
For the Kraken.
There you go.
Let's try that again.
Yeah, and we'll just pause the show.
We've had a lot of shows in the last week. We've had like 5 shows this week. I've missed one of them, but okay. Yeah. Shifley scored the first goal. Let's talk about it.
There you go. Mark Shifley opens the scoring for the Winnipeg Jets at the 8:26 mark of the first period. Josh Morrissey gets an assist because, of course, I mean, he just gets assists on goals. That's what Josh Morrissey does at this point of this season. Second assist goes to Pierre-Luc Dubois. The Jets take advantage of a 5-on-3 with Vince Dunn in the box and with Adam Larson in the box after he high sticks Pierre-Luc Dubois. And the Jets make no mistake. I mean, like I said, the penalty to Adam Larson comes at 8:22, and the Jets score at 8:26. So it takes the Jets all 4 seconds to score on the 2-man advantage to give the Jets a 1-0 lead just before the 10-minute mark of the first period, Ezzy.
Yeah, okay, so that's the one goal Jets lead that I wanted to talk about. But I mean, you just mentioned it, Drew. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. We know what Mark Shifley likes to do. We know where he likes to go. So this is just again the Jets winning set play, good puck movement, everything like that. Yeah. And
beautiful pass by Morrissey.
Yeah, it was a beautiful pass by Morrissey, and I mean, it's like that's what you expect every time. Like you expect it to be, Connor, Morrissey, and Shifley in on it. So, and Shifley went right over to Josh Morrissey after the goal and gave him the heads up because it was a beautiful fake pass or whatever you want to call it, deceptive pass by Josh Morrissey. So a really nice goal, and as you mentioned, they didn't waste any time.
Yeah, when you can score that quickly on a 5-on-3, things are going well, and the Jets did that in this case. Now we have to pause the Betway game recap for a second because Dark Moon is asking that I smile and wave at him. So everyone, on the count of 3,
I waved earlier.
I know you waved earlier. Yes. Yeah. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Hi, Dark Moon. I'm smiling and waving at you.
Who's Dark Moon? Do you know
I
Dark
don't know
Moon?
who Dark Moon is. He's in the chat, and what he says every show, he asks for us to smile and wave. So I'm a man of the people.
It's also a
And
Headstone song.
okay, well there
Remember
you
that
go. I
song?
mean, I don't
Smile
know
and
that
Wave?
song. Oh, Smile and Wave, I know. I
Yeah.
thought you meant Dark Moon
Yeah,
was
good,
a Headstone
good
song.
90s Canadian rock band there.
That's yes, I do know that. I thought you meant that Dark Moon was
I don't
a
know. I
Headstone
don't know
song.
if Dark Moon is a member of the Headstones, because obviously that's not his real name or her real name. But
That's right.
I mean, Dark Moon's often in the IC post game show chat, so we love
He's
it.
asking for a smile
Yeah.
and a wave. So
What's up, Dark Moon?
we smile and wave. This is what we give. This is what we do. We give back to the people here on the Illegal Curve post game show. Now Tico Napoli is asking me to flip him off, flip him the bird. I'm not going to do that, Tico Napoli. That's a bridge too far. I am a good hearted person.
We're just puppets, Drew.
That's right. We just smile and wave. We do not do anything involving negativity. We don't acknowledge negative requests.
I'll flip Drew the bird like in real life, but I'm not going to flip
of
Drew the bird on the IC post game show.
No, on the post game show. In real life, all the time. Ezzy's just constantly driving up and down my street, flipping me the bird in case I happen to open the garage door at that moment. But
now that I think about it, I don't really I haven't given someone the finger in a really long time. It's just something that someone actually flipped me the bird, or flipped the bird at me, I should say.
Okay.
Recently when I cut them off.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. I was actually kind of happy. I was like, wow, somebody just gave me a real middle finger.
It's like you don't see that every day.
It was pretty bad. As you know, Drew, sometimes I get a little aggressive on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't give the middle finger to anybody, and mainly because I'm usually with my kids, and I don't think that really sets a good example. But we're gonna not do that for Tico and Paulie, but we'll smile and wave.
It sets a bad example. You flip somebody the bird, then they drag you out of your car and pummel you, and your kids are traumatized for years. And it's just not good for anybody at that point in time. 1-0 for the Jets after 20 minutes, and it's a decent first period for the Jets. They did what they needed to do. They didn't get a lot of shots in that first period. They only had 3, and the Jets were badly outshot for the vast majority of the game. Which was, I think, a sign of sort of that exhaustion and that inability to really produce 5-on-5. And you saw that tonight. 5-on-5, the Jets didn't have a ton of opportunities. They had a few. They had a couple scoring chances. I think it was Kevin Stenland in the second period who came in on a breakaway, if I'm not mistaken, and that Grubauer made the save on. That would have been a real big goal for the Jets. But 5-on-5, the Kraken, I thought, controlled the majority of the play, but the Jets had the lead after 20 minutes as that 1-0
There were only
lead.
3 high danger chances, just to kind of further your point, at even strength for the Jets.
Well, that's just not, and that's not, I think the Jets had 3 high danger chances in the first shift of the game against Vancouver yesterday. But that says more about the Canucks, I think, than it does about the Jets, or at least equal about
Canucks
both teams.
Just awful.
Oh, just awful. We spent, Dave and I talked about, I think the post game show went, over an hour and 15 minutes last night into the wee hours of, 1 a.m. simply because Dave and I couldn't stop talking about how absolutely horrible the Vancouver Canucks are.
And it's not just, Spencer Martin is their, he's the backup to the backup, right? Like if Thatcher Demko's in the lineup, he's obviously their number 1 goalie. They've got Colin Delia there. We were talking to Kevin Woodley of In Goal Magazine and NHL.com on yesterday morning show, which seems like an eternity ago, by the way, Drew. But he was just saying that, Thatcher Demko's numbers look like he's having a terrible year. But if you actually look at how poor defensively Vancouver, it's almost like the Jets were a couple years back.
Yeah. Well,
right. Like the amount of shots and high danger chances they give up, that Canucks team is, like you said, they want the fans, I should say, want the team to rebuild. And if Jim Rutherford really has a good read on his team, that's what they'll do. They'll start making moves prior to the trade deadline, or close to the trade deadline, because that team's not making the playoffs.
That team is not making the playoffs at all. The Kraken tie it up. Jordan Eberle, and we, another one of those guys we talked about. Just a team of professional hockey players. Jordan Eberle isn't turning on anyone's excitement meter, but he's
Mr. World Juniors, right, Drew?
Well, it's been a long time, but he's just a professional hockey player. He knows how to play in the NHL. He knows how to win in the NHL.
He's a 7-time 20-goal scorer.
He's not exciting. Nobody's ever looking and saying Jordan Eberle's playing tonight and I'm going to be on the edge of my seat, but he's effective in all the roles he has. And this was a tremendous shot by Eberle.
He's got amazing hands. He's always had amazing hands.
Right. What a backhand he unleashes here to tie the game. It's his 8th of the year, assist to Adam Larson and Vince Dunn. I mean, this is a world-class backhand to go top shelf. There was not a lot of room to beat David Riddick on this goal. I thought David Riddick was very good for the Jets tonight, and he's probably saying, "Hey, I did everything I could." This was just an excellent shot, beating a goaltender who's in pretty good position to make it 1-1.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to pick on Adam Larson just because the Larson for Hall trade was one of the worst trades in NHL history.
Right.
But this is a
you
really
should pick
nice
on
pass.
the Oilers. You should pick on the Oilers, not Adam Larson. It wasn't Larson's fault.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the Larson's fault that the Devils took him 4th overall back in 2011 either, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just like it's weird. You watch I'm sure a lot of people watching that, when the net came off, you're like, how did the net come off there? But it was because Riddick was almost like he had nowhere to go. Like Eberle put that in a spot, and Riddick's not a short goalie.
No,
like Riddick's a pretty big goalie, and it was just the spin around backhand. He just put it in a spot where like Riddick he ran out of space, and he was just going in the wrong direction. So really nice individual effort by Eberle. And it goes back to what we were saying before. The Jets get out of that first period with a 1-0 lead, even though I mistakenly said the Kraken had the 1-0 lead. But
okay, we knew what you meant.
Yeah, well, it's been, as I mentioned, it's been a lot of shows. I mean, and we're parenting, Drew. Come on. I mean, our brains are mush at this point. It's really, our minds are more full of like Peppa Pig and, what Hanukkah presents we're going to give our kids as opposed to hockey. But, just kidding. We're always ready to talk hockey.
It's our salvation.
It's our salvation. You could tell that all the momentum was in the Kraken's favor. That's what I wanted to say. And the zone time was heavily in the Kraken's favor. The shots were obviously in the Kraken's favor. Pardon me, had to hit the cough button there. But that was just a really nice individual effort by Eberle, nice pass by Larson, and you got the feeling that the Kraken were going to take the lead after that goal.
Yeah, and so 1-1 at that point in time, and the Jets are, they, to their credit, they immediately bounced back.
I have water here, by the way, Drew. I'm good.
That's good. You drink your water. I'll talk about the goal, or I'll get the goal teed up while you drink your water, because it's usually me who's the one choking and hacking in the middle of a comment, but it'll be you right now, I guess. Pierre-Luc Dubois on the power play. Assist to Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. This comes at the 12:41 mark, and it's there's nothing fancy about this. There's nothing flashy about it. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois saying, "I'm going to get this rebound and I'm going to put it in the net." It's a good shot on goal by Connor. It's it's sometimes the power play goals don't have to be fancy, but they're effective in just putting good shots on goal that are rebound friendly and having a big body in front that's going to go get that rebound like Pierre-Luc Dubois does here for his 15th of the year. It comes, I said, at 12:41, and it makes it 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. So you're thinking, okay, this Jets team, they still got, they got some dogs still in them. There's still some fight in that dog. As they're sort of trying to keep their head above water, and the Kraken are obviously still the better skating team in this game. You can see it. The Jets just didn't have it at 5-on-5, but you never know. You get enough special teams opportunities, maybe you can make something happen. And this made it 2-1 there, Azzy.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how good Pierre-Luc Dubois was in this game. Like Kevin Sawyer was basically drooling over Dubois during the second intermission, talking about him with Dan Robertson. But it's true, like he is having an incredible season, and there was so much controversy in the offseason, right? With the showing up at the draft in Montreal, and was he going to be traded? What contract was he going to sign? He's absolutely stepped up. And, he drew another penalty, which I believe is his 21st drawn penalty or 22nd drawn penalty, which was also pointed out on the broadcast on TSN. So, I mean, this goal almost goes in, like the initial shot goes in. Kyle Connor just had one of his, quick release snapshots.
Yeah.
And it really gave Philip Grubauer, if you look at the replay, kind of goes between his pads there and is just sitting there for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Not the best coverage. Also wanted to point out the penalty, the Will Borgen penalty on Morgan Barron. I thought that was a really good shift by that line with Lowry, Barron, and Harkins. And even though you can't really, point to a lot of positives, aside from the power play goals, because the Jets were just so tired for the majority of especially the second and third periods, just wanted to point that out there, that I thought Morgan Barron had a strong game considering they played last night. But yeah, they just, that's just, a great shot by Connor, and obviously, just a great, rebound by Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, and that's 2-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. So they've made it through 40 minutes. They haven't played very well, but they got the lead. Can they do it for another 20 minutes? Can they find that extra, reserve tank of energy to tap into, to get them through the final 20 minutes of this road trip? And the answer, unfortunately for Winnipeg Jets fans, was no, they can't. And you could see it very quickly, 16 seconds into the third period. This is just, it's just a bit of a killer of a goal. Ryan Donato gets the tip on the shot from the point, and it's a good screen in front of David Riddick. I don't love Brendan Dillon's coverage here. He's not really covering anybody. He's more just providing a screen. He's not tying up a stick. And again, this is a function, I think, of just your brain not being able to process as quickly as it needs to do when you're tired. When the exhaustion might not necessarily always be physical, but it might be mental. And I thought this one was Brendan Dillon, I thought had a rough game for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, and he'll bounce back because he's a good veteran guy who knows, how he knows when his performance is subpar. And to me, he had a subpar performance tonight. And we'll talk about that more on the third Kraken goal. But this one, it's a very nice tip. It's off the shaft of Ryan Donato. You can say he deliberately, got it off his shaft. I don't know if he did or didn't, but he went to the hard areas. He went to the dirty areas, and good things happen when you go there. And that's what happened on this second goal for the Kraken.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan Dillon, I believe, was towards the end of a shift there. Like, I think he was, if I remember correctly. And yeah, you're right. I mean, this is fundamental hockey, right?
Did you mute yourself by accident there?
Yeah, no, that was an accident. I wasn't meaning to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really crafty tip, right? Like you mentioned it. And, the Kraken had some good chances before that. And I thought that, they were really controlling the pace of play. But I mean, that's just a killer, like, right? Like it's a goal that is allowed so early in the period, right? Like, and, it's just not much David Riddick can do on that one. I mean, that you're not going to fault him at all.
No, you're not going to fault him. I mean, like, David Riddick did everything you'd want to see from a backup goaltender. He made saves that you wanted him to make, and the goals that went in were not bad goals. They weren't back-breaking goals. They weren't weak goals. He played very well for the Jets, and if it wasn't for David Riddick, it's probably more one-sided than simply a 3-2 game. The game-winning goal for the Seattle Kraken comes off the stick of Jared McCann, his 14th of the year. Another one of those guys, who just gets goals, quietly. He won't, at the end of the year, he's going to have 25 goals. You might even have more given the pace that he's on. He's on pace for, maybe closer to 30 goals, and you're not going to pay any attention to it. He'll just be in the standings there, having got 30 goals, just a quiet, effective NHL goal scorer. Jared McCann has been this year for the Seattle Kraken, a bit of a resurgence after he sort of bounced around the last number of years. But this is a great shot. It's his 14th assist to Matty Beniers and Schultz, and it's just an absolutely, it's in and out so quickly that you barely even know that it went in or if it hit the crossbar, and it turns out to be the game-winning goal. And it's just another tremendously positioned shot, sort of reminiscent of the Eberle backhand, but this one's on the forehand, up tall, right under the crossbar, in and out before you can even react to it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Brendan Dillon. He's unable to clear the puck there.
Well, it's a bad pass to DeMello.
Yeah,
it should be an easy. It's an easy out, but the pass to DeMello is in DeMello's skates. And it's
right, and I think what you're saying there with the Jets being tired is like plays like that. Usually, you just get that off the boards and it's out, right? Like if you don't have a play, I mean, I know defensemen are taught not really to do that anymore. You shouldn't just clear the puck unless you're killing a penalty or depends on the situation, obviously. But I think in that particular situation, Dillon kind of just, I don't know if it's mental fatigue, physical fatigue, or both. But yeah, that's just like, it was a weird decision. And then what it does is it just allowed, like you said, it just allowed, Matty Beniers to get the puck to Jared McCann there. And it's just a really nice shot. Like it was just a situation where, they needed to get the puck out there. Like what the Kraken were all over the Jets. We talked about that like for good chunks of that second period, and then the Jets had the pushback in the second half of the second period. But yeah, I mean that was just a really nice shot by Jared McCann, and I agree with you in terms of resurgence because it didn't work out for him at all in Pittsburgh.
Right.
But he's just a really good player. I think that he should have been called for boarding there.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are we going to say about it? The game's over now, so I don't think it really matters. But that's just it was a poor decision by Brendan Dillon, and he's one of my favorites. Love Brendan Dillon, but bad pass to DeMello, and then Matty Beniers, who we talked about, was really good in this game, really noticeable in this game, creating offensive chances, and just a beautiful shot by Jared McCann, and really again no chance for David Riddick on this goal. Like that's just a perfectly placed shot.
Mm-hmm. And then the Jets, you're trying to figure out, are they going to have another push? Are they going to have an opportunity in the last 4.5 minutes to equalize? And they really didn't. I mean, yeah, they finally got some zone time with about 30 seconds to go, but it was all on the outside. I thought that they were I thought that they were probably too cute in that last 30 seconds. It's not going to be a pretty goal at this point in time because you haven't done anything at 5-on-5. You haven't generated anything. You just got to throw something towards the net and hope it pinballs, and maybe your guy is has better body position than the Kraken do at this case. You just have to sort of knock something in. Instead, it's all to the outside and then looking for passes. It just needed to be thrown towards the net. They don't do it. I mean, remember sort of the Wheeler game tying goal when they tied it up with 6 seconds to go back the first time they played the Kraken in Seattle. It wasn't a pretty goal by any stretch of the imagination. It was just sort of thrown towards the net, and he got on the loose puck and he tucked it past the goalie at that point. The Jets were a little bit too cute in trying to tie the game, and ultimately they drop a 3-2 decision to the Seattle Kraken tonight in the Pacific Northwest. They drop to 20-10-1 on the season and head back home for the one gamer on Tuesday to face the Senators, which is going to be a trickier game than you would necessarily look at on paper. It's not easy flying home west to east, landing in Winnipeg. You do one quick game and then you're back on the road going far out to the East Coast Thursday, Friday to wrap up the pre-Christmas schedule. Two difficult games in Boston and Washington ahead at the end of this week. You want the game on Tuesday against Ottawa, but you have to really focus in on that one because Ottawa, certainly not a great team this year, certainly struggling again. Not as, they won the offseason, but they haven't won the regular season by any stretch of the imagination. So you still
good way of putting it.
Thank you.
I thought the Senators would be higher up in the standings, I'll be honest with you. But I mean, it ultimately comes down to, for them, I mean, they've got a lot of good young players, but defense and goaltending is below average, right? Like, right. I think anybody watching that team can see that, even though, I love, Thomas Chabot, and I think Jake Sanderson, has a really bright NHL future, but the goaltending just hasn't been good enough, and neither has the defense. So yeah, it is going to be a tricky game though when you consider the circumstances, right? Because we know that these guys, once it gets close to the Christmas break, these guys already start thinking about, whether they're going to Hawaii or Cuba or California or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a tough back-to-back against Washington and Boston. And it's not a, a pass, go and collect $200 against the Ottawa Senators either. So I agree with you, Drew. I mean, these next 3 games in 4 days, and I don't know if anybody has looked at what the Minnesota Wild are doing, but the Wild just keep winning. And I think the Wild are only, 3 points back of the Jets? 4 points back of the Jets? Something like that. So, I mean, you got to keep winning. I mean, your record is 20-10-1, which is really good. I mean, one of the best teams in the Western Conference. But you got to keep racking up points because you got the Wild now chasing you.
The Wild are 3 points back of the Jets. The Wild are playing good hockey. I mean, it's, and the Jets, the Jets
crazy that the Wild are only 3 points back.
Well, I mean, the difference is, after that's when the huge drop off is. Right now, it's Dallas, Winnipeg. Colorado's still there. Colorado's 7 points back of the Jets. But Colorado still has 2 games in hand on the Jets now. So the Jets, those games the Jets had in hand are being are catching up. The other now, Colorado with 2 games in hand, and everyone still expects Colorado to be there. But the Jets know that, and they're embracing the challenge. That's not a problem. They're saying, we're 20-10-1, but we need more. So there's another team chasing us. Other teams want to be in our position. We'll embrace that challenge head on. And this is going to be one of those weeks where there's a significant challenge. Ottawa, not necessarily significant in terms of where they are in the standings and things of that nature, but the Jets have to dig deep for the final 3 games in 4 nights to wrap up the pre-Christmas schedule, because you don't want to go into the Christmas break, let's say if they lose to Ottawa on Tuesday, well, then you're going to be in real tough against Boston and Washington on Thursday, Friday. You don't want to go into the pre-Christmas break, losing 4 in a row or something, because the Jets haven't done that this year. They haven't lost more than 2 in a row. So you want to, have that performance on Tuesday night against the Senators. But anyways, lots of time to still discuss that game as we discuss today's game, where the Jets drop a 3-2 decision to the Seattle Kraken, ending the road trip with a 1-win, 1-loss record, head home on Tuesday to face the Sens. Let's head to break. When we come back, the unique code word, we'll give away a prize. I think I saw the winner of the prize in the chat tonight. So if you're in the chat, stay there, because you might be the winner of the Illegal Curve merchandise. Much more to come. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show on a Sunday night. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
We're back on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Ezra Ginsburg with you. I was about to say Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, because it sort of just rolls off my tongue usually. But Dave has got the night off. I don't even know where he is. Do you know where he is, Ezra? I haven't heard a word from him.
I assume maybe a Hanukkah party or, spending some time with family. But no, I'm not sure.
I know.
I don't
it's
ask.
really...
When Dave M has a night off, I just assume
he's earned it.
He's relaxing. He was at the Moose game, I believe, or he was at the Moose game yesterday.
He was at the Moose game. He was at the Moose game yesterday for sure. I don't even think.
Okay, maybe he wasn't at the Moose game. Yeah, I don't think he was actually because he wasn't tweeting.
Yeah,
so he for sure. Actually, now that I think about it, he wasn't at the Moose game, but the Moose did win. Big Jeff Malott overtime winner.
Yeah, no, I was going to do a Manouk Moose minute, but I forgot to get a backwards hat on, and then it just really can't. It doesn't work if I'm not wearing a backwards hat or I have a giant flame over the top of my head, and then the gag doesn't really work as well as I would have hoped it would have. But in any event, yes, the Moose won in overtime, which is a good win for the Moose because that means they sweep the weekend series against the Belleville Senators and the Ottawa Senators in town. So if there's anybody who really wanted to scout the Senators organization. Tonight was your weekend to be in Winnipeg, where you can get 2 games against the Belleville Sens and then a Tuesday night game against the Ottawa Senators as well. But good for the Moose, obviously winning 2 in a row this weekend to send their fans home happy. I think they're next in action in Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. And I very well might be mistaken, but I believe they're not back in action in Winnipeg until maybe around New Year's, or that New Year's Eve game, which is obviously the traditional game that used to be played by the Winnipeg Jets on New Year's Eve, 4:00 start, something like that. But instead, it'll be played by the Manitoba Moose, as it has been for the last number of years. The Jets will be in Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken, on New Year's Eve night, late night, 9:00 start, because it is, of course, Saturday night. So there's still sort of the hockey night in Canada doubleheader on a Saturday night, New Year's Eve. And we'll be back here with the Illegal Curve postgame show that night. Just a quick programming note. I saw somebody ask, there's not going to be a show this coming Saturday. We're going to do postgame shows, of course, on Tuesday, and a postgame show on Thursday, and a postgame show on Friday. That's standard. There won't be a Saturday morning Illegal Curve hockey show. We're going to spend some time with our family, maybe take a day off and sort of recalibrate ourselves before we come back again right after the Christmas break for some additional post-game shows. So if you're planning on, if you said to your loved ones, or you said to friends, you said to family, I'm sorry, I can't get together on Saturday morning, this coming Saturday morning, the 24th, Christmas Eve morning, because I have to watch the Illegal Curve hockey show. And I know many of you said that. You can change your plans again. We won't be on this coming Saturday morning, but we'll be with you Tuesday night. We'll be with you Thursday night.
We take off usually one Saturday a year, right?
Yeah.
We take off August.
August break.
Yeah, we take off August, but usually, Christmas Eve, if Christmas Eve happens to fall on a Saturday, we'll take it off.
That's
for obvious reasons, right? Everybody's usually with their family that around this time of year, right? But then we'll be right back at it the next week.
Exactly. You can't get rid of us for that long, folks. You know that just before you know it, we'll be right back. So let's do some prizing, because we like to give away prizes and do some merchandise, Legal Curve merchandise contest and things of that nature. The unique code word coming right up. If you're saying, how do I enter the contest? Maybe you're new here. Maybe you're listening to the podcast edition for the first time. Welcome in that case. How do you enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. First, you go to the drop-down arrow in the show description. You click on the thing that says contest link. Click that. If you can't find it there, you go to our website, illegalcurve.com. You click on basically any article. You click on the contest link there. You'll see a whole list of things that you do to generate entries. Maybe you only want one entry. Totally your choice. You can just click on that one thing. You'll get one entry. That'll be it. You get your chance to win the merchandise contest. But if you really want to garner those entries, if you really want to ramp up the number of entries you have in the contest, keep doing all the tasks that are there, including entering today's unique code for the Illegal Curve contest. And for the record, I didn't choose it. Ezra didn't choose it. Manouk still chose it, even though he's not here. And he chose the word, and I'm sure that nobody predicted this, kettle corn. kettle corn is the unique code word for the illegal curve merchandise contest. It's all one word, KETTLECORN. So Dave said to me, that's the code word. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. And what Dave said to me, Ezzy, is that apparently at the Mariners Stadium, Safeco Field, if that's what it's still called, it's probably still not called Safeco Field, but apparently that's where he had the best kettle corn he's ever had in his life.
T-Mobile Park, Drew.
What's that?
Seattle's baseball stadium is now called T-Mobile Park.
There you go, T-Mobile Park. It'll always be Safeco to me, and I don't know.
I remember it as Safeco.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had to Google it. I didn't. I mean, we need to get Remus in here because Remus is a huge Mariners fan. He would have got that in a second.
That's right. So kettle corn, apparently they make great kettle corn there, at least according to the palate of one Dave Manook. And that, as a result, because it's in Seattle, is the unique code word for the illegal curve merchandise.
I do like kettle corn, though, especially at a baseball game.
Kettle corn is nothing wrong with it. I mean, I would not have chosen that word, but again, I was not consulted, and Dave M did the work on his own, so I can't really fault him too much on it. He went to the trouble of doing it and updating everything and all that jazz. So it was a little peculiar, but kettle corn, all one word, all caps, is tonight's illegal curve.
I would have gone with Meg Ryan personally.
Yeah. Meg Ryan, Sleepless in Seattle, maybe the AOL with the little, because AOL was the back and forth email server that they were still using at that point in time. I was going to do sort of a combination of something. If David asked, I would have gone with something about the combination of the Space Needle and Pike Place Market, because those are two sort of obvious Seattle things. But I thought combining them into
Seattle,
one.
Drew?
I've never been to Seattle. No, have you been to Seattle?
No, neither have I. It's always been an American city that I've wanted to visit, though.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons, like the history of music and everything like that, right? Like,
sure,
you know me, I'm a big like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Jimi Hendrix.
I was going to say Hendrix, of course. Yeah, I mean, no, Seattle seems like it could be a good place to visit. I have never been there, and I hope to do it before the earthquake, collapses it into the ocean or anything. But in any event, kettle corn is the illegal curve merchandise unique code word of the day. We also have a winner to announce, and as I mentioned, the winner was in the chat. I'm not sure if I'm assuming that this winner is a he. I'm not sure if he is still there, but in any event, if he is, a hearty congratulations to Darwin Moore. Darwin has had his name drawn out of all the entries to win to win some illegal curve merchandise, or some merchandise courtesy of us here at Illegal Curve. So big congratulations to Darwin for generating all those entries, doing all those tasks. As Rob Mahoney says, when everyone wins, Darwin Moore is a good person, and he is. And congratulations to Darwin for winning tonight's Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
You can really say that the IC merchandise contest is survival of the fittest.
Well, the more entries you get, then of course the more chances you have to win the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. That's why we tell people to do all these things.
Darwin.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Darwin.
Come on, Drew. I thought you love the play on words and everything.
I do like a good pun. That's true. Yeah. I do like a good pun, but I missed that one entirely. But yes, that's clever there, Mr. Ginsburg. You're sharper than I am at 10:30 on a Sunday night. I think I'm hitting the wall.
I'm something. I don't know if I'm sharp, but.
Yeah, well, you got a sharp haircut, I gotta say. Now that I can see the hair,
thank you.
Now that you're not wearing a hat, I can see the how sharp that haircut is. A nice Hanukkah do.
Yeah, shout out to Modern Man Grant Park.
There you go. They take good work of you. They get those heavy shears out and really start shearing you like a sheep almost at that point in time.
I asked for the Flowbee, but apparently the Flowbee doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I got a vacuum. I can maybe attach a pair of scissors to a vacuum and see what happens there. I can't see any downside to that. Congratulations to Darwin, as you can see, he's in the chat. There you go. Good job. We'll be in touch with you. It'd probably be Dave, because Dave loves to be able to meet the people, and I know he's getting to you. He's there's been a lot of games, folks. So we're a little bit behind in terms of giving out the prizes and getting to see everybody, but we're going to get there. I promise you.
Well,
this is not some elaborate Ponzi scheme.
I don't know how much driving Dave's going to want to do. I almost got stuck like 3 times this weekend. So I'm sure I'm not alone in that particular case. I mean, the city does, I think, a really good job. I mean, they haven't done the residential streets yet, but
they've done mine.
I think. Well, you're in a fancy neighborhood. I don't get that type of.
yes.
I don't get that type of.
No, of
the
course,
streets
yeah.
aren't paved with gold here in River Heights.
Well, I can afford, I can afford underground parking, as the Grid Park commercial says. So, imagine what they do for my streets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Darwin asks, how do we get a hold of him? I believe by email, Darwin, but we'll find you. I promise you that we'll get in
Yeah,
touch with you.
Dave will find you. Like,
Yeah, you can't get away from Dave.
Yeah, Dave's like I'm a little bit worried because he'll dox you if he needs to.
Or you can always send Dave an email, or you can slide into his DMs at ICDave or dave@illegalcurve.com if you want to get in touch with him. But congratulations to all the winners on tonight's show. Of course, we had Craig Penner early on winning the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Darwin wins the Illegal Curve merchandise contest, and we'll do it all again on Tuesday night after the Jets and the Senators. I believe it's a 7:00 puck drop. If it's not, I'm going to be very surprised, and that'll be a bit of a rude awakening. But that means that post game will be at 9:45 back here on our YouTube channel. So we encourage all of you to join us back here on Tuesday night, which also means that we encourage you to tell all your friends and all your family to come join us on Tuesday night, because the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on the vast majority of Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. The Jets drop a 3-2 decision in Seattle earlier tonight. This has, of course, been the Illegal Curve post-game show. I want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make this show and all of our shows a possibility. It's up there on the screen, courtesy of Frosty Winnipeg. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, if you're looking for a place to ring in the new year, tickets available for 2 shows at Rumors on New Year's Eve. You can get them at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Frost, hold on. Sorry, I usually don't cut you off when you're doing the sponsor read, Drew, but Frosty's actually putting the comedians in now for Rumors.
That's good.
Awesome.
He's stepping up his game. That's right.
Also,
Michael
I saw Kevin Bozeman's coming up too, Drew.
Kevin Bozeman will be there on New Year's Eve. One of our favorites, as you
He's
well
awesome.
know. Kevin will be there the week after this, and then you can ring in Kevin Bozeman at Rumors. Ring in the new year with Kevin Bozeman at Rumors. Highly recommend that. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the title sponsor of this here fine post-game show. Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment, brought to you by Tough Duck. Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. In case you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us some feedback on the YouTube channel, leave us some feedback on our podcast page. As a result, if you do that, I think you get 10 extra bonus entries in the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. For Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Tuesday night at 9:45 p.m., we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.